Welcome back to another video. My name is Abby, and today we are talking about how the subconscious mind works and how to change it. If you're new to this channel and you want to learn more about your subconscious or self-awareness in general, go ahead and start right now by hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos. So let's get into it. How does your subconscious mind work? Well, let's talk about the fact we have a conscious mind, which is what you're hearing and thinking right now. You're aware of it, what you are aware of it. It's your reasoning and it's your decision-making brain. Now, the important thing to remember about your conscious is that it bases its decisions off the framework of the subconscious. So what is the subconscious? The subconscious is basically a sponge. It is the structure of all the experiences you've had, the decisions you've made, the reasoning and deductions you've taken from experiences and lessons that you've learned from your past. That structure is basically what you think is going to keep you safe and what is going to continue life. So it wants to keep perpetuating that framework. Inside the subconscious is your cybernetic mechanism, your psycho-cybernetic mechanism. What is a cybernetic mechanism? An easy example would be a thermometer. If it's set at 70 degrees, if it gets outside of its set point, 73, 74, it's going to kick on to come back down to 70. As the opposite, if it gets too low, something's going to kick on and bring it back to 70. It wants to stay in its set point. Your subconscious is so many different components of what is your set point. It could be how you look, how much money you make, what kind of friends you have, what kind of car you drive, what kind of house you live, what your financial situation is. All of these different areas of your life have set points, and they're in that subconscious because inside of all of those, say it's your financial situation right now, there's a framework of beliefs, and a belief is just a thought you've had over and over and over, and you take it to be true. You store it in that subconscious. It then is a parameter, and it's a cybernetic mechanism. If you start acting outside that realm of normal, then something's going to happen to self-sabotage, or potentially you rise to the occasion and something starts to change. You see this a lot. People who lose weight, you see a massive, weight change, and they're really starting to change their life. Then you start seeing them, fall off the wagon, or things start, falling apart. They lose their routine because they start getting so far outside of that, how they see themselves, their self-image, that they need to get back in line with it. And even though externally it can seem as they are sabotaging themselves, what they're doing is trying to preserve themselves and keep themselves safe. So they do behaviors that is going to get back in alignment with that cybernetic mechanism, with those subconscious beliefs. So you can see how powerful it is that if your subconscious belief structure isn't in alignment with where you're going, you will use your conscious brain as a framework for decision making based on your subconscious. So you'll never be able to outrun it. You'll never be able to outwork it. What you need to do is turn the attention inward. And how do we do that? First, let's look at how the subconscious is programmed, because that's all it is. It's programming. And so from the last trimester of you and your biological mother to about 7 years old is when you are getting the most of your programming. So think about your life right now. What was happening during that time of your life? What was your authority structure? What was it like in school? What were people telling you? What were you seeing from friends or even just peers that you knew at that time? How did it make you feel about yourself? All of these is how you started just soaking up like a sponge. Why? Because of the brainwave you were in. At that time of your life, you were mostly in theta brainwave. And that is a slower brainwave. As you get older, you get more into alpha and beta, which is what we're right now. So you, in theta, it is the gateway to the subconscious brain. And so you just had from direct experience, you watched or you were told, and you took that to be true. You didn't have the reasoning mind that comes as you get older and when you start getting into that higher brainwave as you mature. So you just took it to be true. Somebody tells you you're not good at creatively, you think, I'm not good creatively. You store that, and that is now a framework for how you act in the world. Even if you're 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, it doesn't matter because your brain took it as true way back then and you never questioned it. One interesting thing to look at is what is the trauma situation in your family, because trauma can be passed on through generations. They did a lot of research after the Holocaust and found that the grandchildren of those who experienced the Holocaust actually had symptoms of PTSD, even though they didn't actually physically experience it. So there's huge ramifications that whatever your family has gone through in the past, asking questions, seeing what it is. Is it a cycle of poverty? Is it a cycle of domestic abuse? Or potentially it's alcoholism? All of these things can be stored inside of your cells, and you need to be aware so you can then transmute that trauma and free yourself and start really reprogramming that subconscious. You have to be aware of it first. And the third way that your subconscious is programmed is all the interpretations you've had up until this point right now. So every interaction you've had, whether it be, the very first time, maybe you're 14 years old and you asked somebody out and they rejected you, taking that as you're not worthy, taking that as you're not attractive, and then applying that throughout the course of your life up until now. Now you have these situations repeated over and over, and it gives you proof that that is what is real, but that is only your subjective reality. It is not objective truth. It is what you continue to get yourself in so that it will reflect, yep, see, I'm not attractive, that person didn't want to date me, or I'm not worthy, I don't have much to give. You continue to look for this proof, this confirmation bias, and since you're looking for that in the world, even though there's other things outside of that, maybe somebody else is interested in you, maybe you've actually rejected people not knowing it because you weren't looking for something that proved that you were attractive, that you were worthy. You were looking for something that you wanted to confirm it, not because you want to hurt yourself, but because your psycho-cybernetic mechanism is set to, I need to find rejection. I need to create situations so that it proves, it validates that my self-image is accurate. You cannot step out repeatedly of that self-image unless you change the self-image, unless you start asking, is that true? So you will actually program your RAS, your reticular activating system. I talk about this a lot in my videos because it's absolutely pivotal in changing your life and changing your subconscious programming. Your RAS basically is a filtration system that you deem what is important. So if you're thinking it is important, it's priority, it's proof of your existence that you are rejected, that you feel unworthy, it is going to filter out everything in your external environment that proves otherwise. It is proven that you do not see with your eyes, you see with your brain. So when we're thinking about this, we see how our subconscious is ruling our life right now and how pivotal it is that whatever it is that you're thinking, whatever it is your framework, it needs to be in alignment with what you want in the future. Joseph Murphy talks about this, that this right here is an acorn. So an oak tree is right here in the seed that I have in my hand. I'm holding the potential of an entire oak tree in this seed. Even though the seed is founded on the ground, right, walking by, pretty light, I can put it in my pocket. But an oak tree resides in it. An apple is inside an apple seed. So realizing that the thoughts that you allow your conscious brain to continue to repeat, inside of that is that oak tree, that huge manifested 3D experience that either you do want to experience or you don't. Your conscious mind is continually engraving in your subconscious what it deems to be true. So the seeds that you plant with your conscious mind, they are powerful in how they are influencing your subconscious mind. Your subconscious is a soil. So if I dig up some soil and I plant this little seed and I nurture it, eventually it's going to turn over time into a big oak tree. What you have to understand here is as you start planning the ideas that you want to happen in your life, that dream version, and programming your subconscious, changing it to a life that you want to experience, when I put this seed in the ground, it's going to have to get in there. It's going to dissolve from its current state. Your current state right now will have to dissolve so that it can essentially die and be reincarnated into the new life, into the new state. So the seed needs to be implanted into the soil, which is your subconscious. It needs to then dissolve, be nurtured over and over and over, so that it can have that death and rebirth into the new version of you. You won't be the current version of you and still be able, and suddenly something changes and then you are the new one. You have to be able to surrender that. You have to be able to and willing to surrender who you are now for who you can be in the future, that better version, that ultimate expression of yourself in this life. So the 3 ways in that you can change it is, for one, become aware. Start becoming aware of the thoughts that you're thinking. Start asking yourself, what is the greatest expression of myself? This is a huge Dr. Joe Dispenza idea that what is the greatest expression of yourself. Start thinking from that state. Add Neville Goddard's live in the end. What would that be? What is that ultimate goal you have? Live from the end. Start changing those thought patterns. Start unpruning that neurological connection of those synapses and allow that to dissipate and dissolve and give birth to those new networks and those new thought patterns. But you need to become aware of what you're thinking now first. The second thing is using, since you got here by brainwaves, you're going to use brainwaves to help shift and help transmute. You're going to use morning time and nighttime. As you're waking up, who is it that you want to be? What feelings do you want to have? As you're going to sleep, who is it that you want to be? Allow those seeds to plant in those moments. That's when you're going to put those powerful thoughts and those powerful seeds of who you want to be to change that subconscious. Why? Because again, you're in theta brainwave. As you wake up, you go from delta, deep sleep, to theta, to alpha, to beta. And then as you go to sleep, you're going to go beta, and then alpha, theta, and then drift off to deep sleep of delta. So these are great times for you to put in those seeds, just like the acorns, and allow them to start sitting and marinating. Repetition is what is going to help cause these changes. You did not get here in one day or 1 week or even a month. So those slow, repeated, and that commitment and conviction to change is what's going to take you all the way. Another way to change it is to start to do small things that are outside of you. So if you're somebody who's really quiet and doesn't talk with a lot of people, take a moment at the grocery store or saying hi to somebody and act outside of yourself. Start to challenge who it is you think you are, because your personality is simply a coping mechanism in many ways. You started shifting and doing these things so that you would get your needs met. And it is adaptable, it is flexible. You starting to think and see yourself as a different person can allow those shifts to change and challenge who it is that you're inside this limitation. These don't have to be giant things. These should not alter your life in a negative way. These should be small challenges. If you don't wear hats, try wearing a hat. Try dressing differently. These are small things that other people might notice, but this is something that makes you potentially feel uncomfortable. It will make you feel uncomfortable because it's outside of you, but there's small challenges that you can keep to yourself to start breaking free of that you right now. You no longer want to experience parts of it. You want to evolve. You want to step in the greatest expression of yourself. And these steps are ways that you can get there. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, hit the like button. It helps to spread this information and also support this channel. Hit subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you on the next one.